You're going to flex your hip to 90 degrees. You're going to keep a slight flex in your knee. This is going to be to release the tension on the tensor fasciae lati muscle and get a little bit more activation on the glute medius. And then you're just going to raise your leg as high as you can into abduction. Now we're going to get started with the actual workout. For the workout, we're going to be doing some glute max strengthening for the deep fibers. This first variation, you guys are going to lie down on your back. You want your heels roughly hip width apart. Your knees, you're going to squeeze them together and touch. You're going to go into retroversion of the pelvis, flatten out your lumbar spine, your arms at the glenohumeral angle, which is at the level of your forehead or just a little bit higher. Keep your chin tucked in, push the crown of the head up, and then what we want to do for this one is you want to roll and unroll your spine one vertebrae at a time. So you're lifting your sacrum off the floor, then L5, 4, 3, 2, 1, until you can go as much into hip extension as possible. And then you're going to reverse. So one vertebrae at a time, try to lower down to the ground. So L1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sacrum. And we're going to do this for about 45 seconds. With this one of the most important things is making sure that your navicular is staying pinned to the ground, so the medial arch of your foot, so flatten out that foot, and your knees are staying tucked together. Really make sure to keep that retroversion of the pelvis so you're not sticking your butt out. And now we're going to hold it at the top for 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back down to the bottom, bring your feet together. We're going to do the exact same thing. So knees are together, feet are together, and you're lifting your pelvis up off the ground. Go with as much hip extension as you can without losing the retroversion of the pelvis. Try to go one vertebrae at a time from your sacrum all the way up to your lumbar and thoracic spine. You're keeping your chin tucked in, pushing the crown of your head away from you. With your eyes, you can look down between your thighs to put the dura mater under tension. That first one that we did before this was for the lateral fibers of the glute max, so the outermost fibers. This one is a little bit more medial. This is the medial lateral fibers. So if you were to cut your glutes in half, the outside would be the lateral portion, the inside would be the medial. And then if you were to subdivide that even further, we would have the lateral on the farthest side, outside to the outside, and then the medial lateral would be right next to that on the inside. That's what we're working on right now. Hold it at the top. We're going to do this for 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, heels hip width apart, knees hip width apart. This is going to be the typical hip bridge that you see most people do in the gym. And this is for the lateral medial fibers. So now we're getting closer toward the crack. If you have really, really weak hamstrings, you might even feel this in the hamstrings as well. And good news for you, if your hamstrings are starting to burn, the next exercise is actually a hamstring exercise. So really try to maintain that retroversion of the pelvis. You're pushing that navicular down to the ground, so you're flattening out the arch. One vertebrae at a time, keeping your chin tucked in, pushing the crown of the head away from you. With your eyes, look down between your thighs to put the dura mater under tension. Now we're going to hold it at the top for 15 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. Last one. Bring your feet together. Keeping your navicular down to the ground, you want to separate your knees as much as you can without letting that navicular raise. So try to flatten your arch, and then as soon as you notice the arch starts to come off, That's where you want to stop with your knees. Everything else is exactly the same. Retroversion of the pelvis, one vertebrae at a time, chin tucked in, push the crown of your head away from you. With your eyes, look between your thighs, put the dura mater under tension. And go into as much hip extension as possible without losing the retroversion of the pelvis. This is the last of the glute exercises, the glute max. This is for the deep fibers of the medial fibers, so closest to the crack. We're going to hold it at the top position for 15 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. If you need some water, go ahead and grab it. Next, we're going to be focusing on the semimembranosus. So semimembranosus is one of your 3 hamstring muscles. You have the semimembranosus, which is closest to the midline, semitendinosus, which is right down the middle, and then the biceps femoris to the outside. For this one, we want to get into the terminator position. So you're going to get into the half kneeling position, arms on either side of your foot. Then because we're focusing on the semimembranosus, your foot, you want to place it outside of your knee. So your ankle's outside of your knee. And then you want to try and bring your heel toward your opposite glute. So you're coming up on a diagonal. And this is going to be for the semimembranosus, the intermediate fibers. If you're able to, you could even do some rotation of the tibia. So you could start in external rotation when your ankle's outside of the knee, and then go into internal rotation just to get a little bit more activation. Now we're going to hold it at the top position. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we're going to go back into the next set. The semimembranosus is responsible for, one of the actions is responsible for knee flexion, so you want to try and get as much knee flexion as possible. If you can't actually touch your butt, that's fine. Most people aren't going to be able to do that. Just get as much flexion as you can. And if you do, if your knee's bothering you, you can roll up the mat a little bit. That way you get a little extra support. Hold it at the top. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last set. And hold it. Okay, now we're going to switch legs. So the foot that was on the floor is now going to be kneeling. And then same thing, your ankle is to the outside. You can start out in external rotation of the tibia, and then you can flex your knee to the opposite glute and try and go into medial rotation of the tibia. And hold it at the top. And set number 2. And hold it. Gonna hold it here for 10 more seconds. And then we have one more set. And then we're gonna move on to the posterior fibers of the glute medius. Okay, last set. And hold it at the top. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. All right, that's it for the hamstrings. Next, we are going to move on to the posterior fibers of the gluteus medius. For this one, you're going to be in a side lying position. What you want to do with the bottom leg is you're going to flex your hip, grab a hold of your shin with your top arm. You could use your arm just to relax your head. And then with your top leg, you're going to bring it up to 90 degrees. You're going to flex your hip to 90 degrees. You're going to keep a slight flex in your knee. This is going to be to release the tension on the tensor fasciae lati muscle and get a little bit more activation on the glute medius. And then you're just going to raise your leg as high as you can into abduction. And we're going to do this for about 20 repetitions. You could also go into dorsiflexion of the ankle, inversion, and some medial rotation. Hold it at the top. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back down. Hold it at the top. And back down. Got one more round.
Oh, you suck.
Of all the glute medius exercises, this is my least favorite one. Every time I do it, my butt feels like it's on fire.
Oh boy, that's a good one. Wow.
So if you don't have access to the yes please no thank you machines, this is a great alternative.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, no,
Hold it at the top. And relax. Now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So your bottom leg, you're going to flex the hip and knee to 90 degrees, grab a hold of your shin with the top arm. Your top leg, you're going to flex the hip to 90, slight bend in the knee to release the tension on the tensor fasciae lati muscle, dorsiflexion of the toes, inversion, medial rotation, and up. It's going to be interesting to see how my deadlifts go today after this workout. And hold the leg at the top. And set number 2. Hold it at the top. Set number 3, last one. Last one, hold it, 15 seconds. And relax. That is it for the lower body. Now